Hello. Today I'm going to walk you through how to create graphs specifically for the salmon population lab using Google Sheets. So as you can see, you have a page that has different pages, or a sheet that has different pages, graph 1, graph 2, and graph 3. And what we're going to do is we are going to start with graph 3, and I'll mimic graph 3 and graph 2 for you, and they're the exact same steps. So you're going to left click and drag your text that is written for you, the table that is given with the year and the population and the title. Once it's highlighted in blue, you're going to click Insert and then click the words Chart. Automatically, sometimes it takes a minute, Google will generate a graph for you. And based on the information you've given Google, it will tell you the best type of graph to use. In this case, they're saying a line graph or a line chart, which is exactly what we want. So you now have your graph, and it starts at the population of about 2,000, going up to 30,000, and we see it over every 2 years from 2000 until 2014, which is exactly what you had in the chart. Over here under Setup, you're going to leave everything alone right now, but if we didn't want a line graph, we would have changed it to something else. I'm going to click the word Customize. And I can see that I can customize a lot of different features, like changing the title or the colors. And I'm going to leave all of that alone except for one thing. So I'm scrolling down and I'm going to click grid lines and ticks. And this is going to help make the graph actually look like it was on graph paper. So I have vertical axes and I want major and minor grid lines and ticks. So I'm just going to check off each of those 4 boxes. The color can be left auto, that's fine. Thicknesses, that's all fine. Leave it the way it is. The other thing that we can do is click the word vertical axis again and change it to horizontal. So that gave us our lines and ticks going up and down. Now I also want them going side to side. So again, I'm going to leave step and count and all these little pieces up here alone. But scroll down and click major and minor grid lines and major and minor ticks. It gives us those lines. So now my graph looks like it's on little bars, little squares, and I can see maybe a little bit more accurately where the population was at certain times. When I'm done with that, I can click the little X or just click outside of the graph. And that's it for graph number 3. And now we're going to go to graph 2. The same thing with graph 2, we're going to left click and drag and highlight all of the information on the table. I'm going to click Insert and Chart. Now, graph 2, we would much prefer a bar graph because there's no change over time like a line graph is showing. Yes, there are time periods, and yes, there's a certain number because in the 1930s, 1 dam was in use. In the 1950s, there were 3. In the 60s, there were 6. In the 70s, there were 8. That just needs to be done in a bar graph. So keeping in the chart editor, I'm going to make sure I'm in setup. And I'm going to click on this drop menu that says chart type. I would like column chart. Column chart makes it like our traditional up and down vertical bar graph. But you can also click what Google calls the bar chart and makes it horizontal. Either way will give you the information that you would like. So I'm going to stick with column chart and I'm going to click customize again. And we're going to go back to those grid lines and ticks, and we're going to make sure that we have all those other little lines and those dashes to show 6 and what's in between 6 and 8, 7, what's in between 4 and 6, 5. Just specifically for those who have odd numbers, we want to make sure a reader can easily understand what it is. So we're going to click major ticks and then go to vertical axis and do major and minor grid lines and ticks. And you would do the same thing for a line graph for graph number 1. Okay, so take a minute and finish up these lab activities and make sure you turn it in.